Welcome back to Inspiring Possibilities, the courage to jump in. I'm Michelle Cameron Coulter, and today's conversation is powerful, not just because of the neuroscience behind one of the most transformative tools I've ever encountered, also because it becomes deeply personal in a way neither of us expected. In this episode, I sit down with my brilliant friend, Kim Serafini, founder and president of Positive Prime, one of the most powerful and surprisingly simple tools I've ever seen for shifting your brain and nervous system into a healthier, more resilient state. Kim shares the extraordinary story behind Positive Prime from her own heart, flatlining multiple times and living with a pacemaker, to a passion and vision that led her to collaborate with leading neuroscientists to advance this groundbreaking technology. We explore what happens in literally 3 minutes of using this extraordinary tool, why personalizing is the secret sauce, and how it supports everything from performance and creativity to sleep, healing, and emotional regulation. Partway through, something unexpected happens. Kim's journey intersects with a very real and raw chapter in my own life, my daughter's recent very scary cardiac incident, and the conversation opens into a vulnerable, heartfelt space neither of us anticipated. It's honest, emotional, and deeply raw. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, anxious, or like your nervous system is stuck on high alert, this episode will give you hope, science, and a practical path for feeling safer, clearer, and more empowered in your own life. So take a breath, settle in, and let's jump in. Fabulous. So good. How are you doing? It's been a very long time.
I know, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm everything. I'm excited and blessed and lucky and fortunate and grateful and scared and challenged and tired, and I'm everything.
Oh my God, that is the best answer I have ever heard because I can relate on every level to that. So good. Oh, I've been wanting to connect with you for so long, and I know it's been
Yeah.
years. Like, I think because you've been doing Positive Prime for how long now? It's like you are me
Uh, I'd say it's like 6 or 7 years. I think that the
longer.
enriching visions, like what is now currently called a positive prime session, I think I created the very first one and shared it with people about 15 years ago.
I was going to say it's longer than 6 or 7 years for
Yeah.
sure.
So
So,
a session used to be called an enriching vision, which is a little bit of a dumb brand name, and it was all inside I am grateful. So
ah,
it was the emerging from the best-selling book that I had written, I'm Grateful.
so good. Yeah.
Mm.
And you just had a big birthday. Where were you? It looked like heaven on earth. Were you?
Uh, I had my 50th a couple of years ago, but I celebrated in Tahiti on a luxurious, beautiful cruise, little baby, ship, with my parents.
So,
My mum's 80th and my dad's 80th, and I'm extremely rare in that both of my parents are still alive and healthy and able to travel and want to be on the adventure. And none of us had been to Tahiti. And we also went with other very close family friends who've known me for all 50 odd years of my life. Yeah. So,
oh, so good. The pictures were fabulous. So good. I know I don't have either of my parents now. I have my birth dad, which, he wasn't around really when I grew up, but to have my parents not here, like, it's like so special for you to have that time and that they're still, like, it's quality of life too, right? That they're active and they're doing
yeah.
stuff you like, very, very special.
And Michelle, I'm now so heavily immersed in longevity and lifespan versus vitality and life here in the now. Like, that's very much the conversations around what's the problem we're solving at Positive Prime? Why is Positive Prime a solution? What are we doing with neurotech and brain computer interfaces? And what's the sensor we've got in development? And what I can tell you is my parents are actually the epitome of everything that the science suggests. They're deeply faithful. They believe in something bigger than themselves. They contribute very generously. Their volunteers always have been. Um, they've really respected, admired each other. They've got a great marriage. It hasn't been all butterflies and beds of roses. It's been facing, very real challenges that we do in life, whether they're financial or whether they're family dramas or whatever. But they also they started their married life in Papua New Guinea, where my grandparents had a very successful business, and so they're part of that expat community. And the more and more I learn about, connection and sociability,
Mm.
and why it's so important, and what these medical studies have actually now been proving. Like
This is all the stuff I want to talk about in the podcast. This is all the stuff that's so important, the real life stuff. Like this is
okay, well, let's get going, right? And then the reconnection and the conversation and the what we can do and how we can do it. Absolutely. Let's
Yeah,
make it.
because I want to share your work and just figure out how to get it out there more. And I know you have tons of people sharing it, but honest to God, like from everything I've seen, I think this is the most powerful tool in the shortest period of time that is working that muscle that needs to be in that place in order to actually make the change and live the lives that we want. Like you have created the secret formula. And so I'm so excited to talk about too how it got there, how it's evolved, all those sort of things. And then also a link, like if you have an affiliate link or anything like that that I can add on to this, because I'm in a number of different groups that I know this will be the foundation of people getting where they want to go. And I would love to like spend more time together. I know this is an initial one, but you're one of the people that for so long I just go, you've got it. You've got the key.
Well,
You
I'm
do.
lucky
And
I spend time with the people who do have the keys, right?
pardon? Yes. Yes. And it's bringing that all together, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
bringing it all together. So what
Yeah.
would you like to
Tell me
do?
how many minutes do you have?
Well, we're just
Uh,
going to have a chat and it's going to be casual. I'm in the next 2 weeks moving. This is my home studio, but I'm moving into another studio. But
oh
this
wow.
one, we're going to do it in Zoom, and then it's raw, real. Like I really don't edit a lot because I want the real conversations. It's not, it's like you and I talking about real life, our families, our parents, and the things that have made a difference and what's driven you to do what you're doing and what you're passionate about. It's
Okay.
like literally us talking, like this is it.
All right. And then how long is each episode normally? Do you do like 20 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour and a
It's
half?
usually it can be like 40 minutes. It depends on how the conversation goes, right? So it's like, yeah. So
And the audience and how engaged they are, and
yeah. So and then we'll have little snippets that will go out in different places too that we can use. So yeah, so good. And I will be like I have just come back doing my podcast again. I took a break when I lost my mom. Like I lost my mom to COVID during COVID, and I was helping her a lot with her company. It took me a long time to get my feet back underneath me again. Sorry, it makes me emotional because it is like my mom was so vibrant, and well, a huge part of my life was helping her with her last company that she started at 75 years young, and it was to help people with limited mobility because my dad was in a wheelchair the last few years of his life where he was told he wouldn't live to 60, and we had him till 2 weeks before his 80th birthday. And
oh
it
wow.
was through so many things that they did, so much not just mindset, but starting this business that they were not planning on it, but it was because my dad, it was similar to ALS. So to not
Oh,
move, to not have your ability to do anything, like she cut a pair of his favorite pants and came back and had it fixed with a zipper in it. And everyone's like, you need to do something with this. There's too many people that need this. So at 75 and 77, they started Superfly, which they were not intending, but it gave them purpose again. It was just so.
oh. So um I think that we should start that. I'm sure, have you told that story?
I don't know if recently in my podcast, because I'll share that my other break that happened is I will share that for sure, is like I've got 4 children and they're all like grown adults now and they all played high level sport because they loved it, like, followed more in their dad's footsteps in volleyball. And my oldest one just had it's hard for me to talk about it still, but she had a major heart incident where we almost lost her had she not been where she was. Like she ended up being in the hospital for 10 days and they still don't know what caused it. So she's got a internal defibrillator. So, and it went off last week, which is like her heart rate went up to 250 again. She is probably one of the most positive people I know. Her state of mind through this has been amazing. And I, as a mom, have been really working on staying in a good place. So I'm like, I am that for her. So it's been a while for me to, she goes, Mom, you got to keep doing your things, like go do your things. And so I am grateful you're the first person I am talking to coming back from this of because life is a roller coaster. We're going to have those moments and how do we get our feet back underneath us again? And so that's why inspiring possibilities is so important and the courage to keep jumping back in.
Okay, well, um, let's go.
Let's go. Okay, my friends, I am so excited to have you here and meet my amazing friend, Kim Serafini, who we've known each other from a distance because she's in Australia for a number of years. And just seeing the work that you have done, Kim, I'm going to do a full introduction of you, but you have literally created something that helps people shift their lives into a healthy place the fastest, the most effective, the most powerful way, all around neuroscience, etc. Um, and we'll dive into my sports background too, because that's something that we did in sports, but you've been able to take what that is, simplify, powerfy, is that a word? Like
I like
amplify.
it.
I make up words, amplify the impact in a very short period of time. So I'm so excited to have you here, Kim, who is the founder and president of Positive Prime. So we're going to dive in a little bit, hear a bit of your story, how this all came to be, Kim. And I'm just honored to have you here and help share the incredible work that you're doing. I think it's foundational to achievement in anything and happiness and quality of life. So there's my little intro. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello, everybody. It is truly an honor, privilege, and pleasure to be here with Michelle. And I hope you're all going to not only enjoy the next half an hour or however long it is that we have a deep and meaningful conversation for, but that you're also uplifted and you feel inspired and you actually truly feel like we're ladies who we understand and we really appreciate where you're at. So for whatever it's worth, we're going to talk about some raw and vulnerable things, but we think that they're important, really important. And we're not trying to impress you just to impress upon you that you're really critical to humanity. Your strengths, your gifts, your talents, just you being a very generous, loving, kind, patient you. That's what the world needs right now. Anyway, we're going to go into what the science says and what the medical studies are showing us and how that impacts peak performance and celebrities and sporting stars like Michelle. And let's see if we can travel to the moon and back in a few moments.
And you know what? Anything is possible, right? And I already know we're going to be spending more time than just this once for sure,
I
because
hope.
so much goodness. And that's what it's all about. That's what this podcast is all about, inspiring possibilities and having the courage to jump in and surround ourselves with the people who are moving through those challenging times and figuring it out. So Kim, share a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are now. What brought you to this work and the impact that you're having on the world?
Okay, so let's go. I was just like literally thinking of that deep reservoir. What do I draw on?
Mm,
So Michelle and I reconnected just recently because I read on social media a little bit about what she was going through as a mother, but certainly in relation to her daughter. And I sit here with a cardiac pacemaker,
mm,
and I had my heart stop, like literally, not metaphorically, for 23 seconds, there was absolute silence, and I was, technically dead. Some call it a voodoo death, and we can go into that. I had a chip in my chest, and it felt like I'd been hit with a nail gun. But the little measurement device really mattered. And so we knew that my heart had flatlined, but I'd already had at least 5, if not 7 or 8 flatlines before that. The first couple people just thought I was young, overhyped, dehydrated, maybe too hot. I'd been standing on all of the excuses. So we just write off what's fainting for young women. And they were highly likely what the medical fraternity will call a prolonged sinus pause. Wow. Not very many people survive them. Now, to survive 1 is a miracle. To survive more than 6 is strange. Very, very strange. The irony is that it's actually a part of an autonomic nervous system disorder. Nothing to do with the autoimmune system. It can lead to autoimmune problems, but the autonomic nervous system and what physically from my brain stopped my heart also continues to still stop my lungs, my digestive system, and my esophagus and my uterus. And I'd already been through more than enough loss with my husband. We'd had 6 miscarriages. And there was no explanation because I was super healthy. And even when they put me in an MRI machine, a cardiac MRI machine, they were like, your heart is amazing. It's absolutely structurally perfect. It's functionally incredible. You're really healthy. We have no explanations for this. Now, that was 5 years ago. I had my pacemaker implanted. Wow. And there have been an enormous number of complications and implications and consequences. But I think for all of you who are listening, here's like, I don't know, the essential one. It fortified me to have some real scientific research done on this invention I had come up with that we call a positive prime session. And so we're going to give you all the opportunity to have a gift of a positive prime membership. We're going to explain to you, if we get the opportunity, how and why it works. But even if you take advantage of the gift, so we'll give you the link. You'll find it either in the description or, within the email if you came across this, in some kind of promotional marketing. So we actually had the Brain Computer Interface Lab, the BCI lab at the University of Technology, Sydney, UTS. That's a little bit like America's MIT. Very fancy devices of the highest caliber and quality, precision, and academic excellence that is astonishing. And most people don't know this, but Australians lead in what we call neurotech, neuroscience-enabled brain-computer interfaces. In fact, when hearing impaired people can now hear because of the cochlear earplant, and even though that's a brand name, that's actually an Australian invention. Wow. And we are this close to actually releasing one for people who are visually impaired. I've actually seen it I've literally seen it in the same lab. People who otherwise and born with a visual impairment, blind, legally blind, can now navigate a room because of let's call it a chip or a sensor that's non-invasive. Very important for you to understand that. It's not like anything's been injected into the head. Even though it's like the size of a hair, they can navigate a room as if they're walking across it, like wow. They can see it. Now, wow. What does that mean for who I am, Kim Serafini, and what is Positive Prime and why are we here? And so let's just go back a little step. The research, we did EEGs, eye tracking, skin conductance, heart rate variability. We published it. We were invited by the Society for Neuroscience to present in 2022 in San Diego. There were 20,000 people involved in neuroscience at a summit. I had no idea there were that many people globally involved in the industry. I had kind of come from the psychology, the positive psychology doorway into the field of cognitive neuroscience. And so I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm not a psychologist. That might be a good thing because I see things from different perspectives. Mm-hmm. I am a business school graduate. I did actually specialize in change management, transformative leadership, strategic, mergers and acquisitions programs. I was very, very bright and ambitious and driven. And as a young woman, I wanted to make it to the top of the corporate ladder in London and New York, and I did. And then I kind of had my own aha moment. I had lots of migraines. I was always stressed. I worked way too hard. I was constantly suffering jet lag. And I thought to myself, where do I want to be? And that's basically having a massage in a villa over the water in paradise, Tahiti or Mauritius or the Maldives or the Seychelles right?
I saw you there.
Yeah. So I went back and studied in the United Kingdom in osteopathy and exercise physiology. And the rest of my story I'll keep super short, but over a period of years, I was using ultrasound in a rehab treatment. I thought of thermotherapy and cryotherapy. I am the woman who actually did invent what is currently known as hot stone massage. My brand was called lithotherapy. So I created the spa treatment, or the treatment that is now used in the beauty world. I presented it. I taught nearly 5,000 massage therapists or remedial therapists or physiotherapists or beauty therapists, because I wrote the subject and I had like the Australasian College of Natural Therapies teaching it. Anyway, long story short, I went to lots of health retreats and spas and, beauty salons, lots of them, over 500. I had a distributorship in India and in the Middle East. And anyway,
Wow.
I'm saying all of this because I saw the most extraordinary number of exquisite treatments. And what I have created, Positive Prime, is like a treatment at a tap. So yes, you create an account via an online website. So you just go to your laptop or your desktop and you go to Google Chrome and you go via the link and you create an account. And then after you've got an account, you get an opportunity to download an app. And then you literally open it up and you're in the Positivity feed and you press play. So at a tap, there's a treatment, because guess what the science showed us? The research. Within a few seconds, your brain goes into synchronization of alpha and theta with bursts of gamma, flow state. Otherwise, very difficult to get into. And you can actually literally be in this flow state for 3 minutes. It'll last, the actual effects of that, for about 6 to 8 hours, being positively primed. So that's a science in and of and by itself. But I happen to be the woman who figured out, how do we get real humans with real lives and real problems to positively prime themselves? How can they enter into the positive prime state actually without doing anything? So you don't have to learn to meditate. You don't have to know a lot about the tricks and the hints and the hacks for mindfulness. You literally just press play. But the key is the software allows you to personalize. And I'm going to take a moment just to say, what is a positive prime session? Imagine 1,000 frames. They flow in front of you like flashcards. They've got spectacular images of smiles and helpful behavior and nature scenes. But anyway, there's a precise number of images. So the formula is really designed to make sure you get into a state of flow. Why do you want to be in a state of flow? Because that's where you make better quality decisions, and that's been proven. That's where you can stay focused for longer on what's absolutely essential. That's been proven. You are more creative. That's been proven. You have less experience of pain. That's been proven. Like, I could go on and on and on, give you another 20 things, but anyway, we've got lots of resources you can read, the benefits of this, and it increases energy. And anyway, however, and it's a massive big plus, our software allows you to upload photographs of yourself, of what you're deeply grateful for or who you're deeply grateful for, plus photographs that you might put on a vision board. And the reason why is because when we actually wrap our own identities into the content, it transforms us in an enduring way. It's rapid and reliable. And I was really the first person in the world to figure this out. You need to personalize it in order for it to have a transformative effect that's seriously very fast, quick. So yes, there are over 300 what we call sessions, and they're like courses, like coaching, moments. It could be on grief or on trauma. It could be on improving your sales. It could be on developing the right mindset for pregnancy. I mean, we literally have 300. There's nutrition, there's fitness, there's being more patient, right?
And it's mind-boggling, I will say, because even looking at I'm going to share two experiences. My experience as a high performance athlete, as an Olympic athlete, like we did visualization in order to get into flow. You had to really, that was you studied it, worked on it like a new muscle. It was just like the power of visualizing is massive. That's many, many years ago, 30 years ago. People are still learning of the power of visualizing, how we can actually change our physiology by what is going here. You have, in a very healthy way, I joke about this, but you have put that process on steroids in such a powerful way, because even doing visualizing, it's easy to let other things seep in that are not necessarily what you want. Like you probably know better than I do because this is your area of expertise. But we have over, what is it, 60,000 thoughts a day. We can't be controlling those all the time. And there's a huge percent of those, like a very high percent on the pendulum, that are negative. So even when we're doing those visualizations, and doing visualization on its own is already putting you in a way better, positive place. And the human nature of, like, you sit for a moment, how many thoughts come into your mind? So it's disrupted. It's it really takes focus to train that muscle. And so now what you have created, and again, I got to play with this with you years ago, and to see how it continues to evolve, and to see how the bank of flow experiences to get in that. I just got goosebumps, and I know that's always a sign of that positive prime state, no matter what it is, whatever chapter we are in our life, whatever we're dealing with in front, to have that curated, powerful flow of, like you say, it's how many pictures or thoughts that are going through in that rapid sequence of 3 minutes, which sounds so short, and it's so incredibly powerful. So this is now what I want to dive into, is some of the experiences that you have seen, and the shifts that you've seen, and the evolution of positive prime to where it is now, because it's massive. It really is. Oops, you just got muted by accident there, I think, Kim. We do not mute this woman. I want to hear everything you have to say.
Oh, you're so generous. So here's the other fascinating thing. And this sounds woo-woo, but is totally plausible even to those in the medical profession. So the world has an increasing number of people who are suffering nervous system collapses. And I'm not just talking out of balance, parasympathetic and sympathetic. And so my autonomic nervous system disorder has, I suppose, made me more committed than ever to the promises of wellness. And what I mean by that is, it's highly likely that all of the positive priming that I have had continue to do, and I don't yet know how to prove it, was protective. Now, I'm not going to say preventative, I'm going to say protective. Nudges in the right direction. So there is an argument that I would not have survived these voodoo deaths or these prolonged sinus pauses were I not so resilient. My body's resilience, because I was so healthy, but all of my organs and systems, they were bathed in positivity. Now, what I mean by this is, most people whose hearts flatline for longer than 10 seconds end up with irreversible, irreparable kidney damage, and I don't have any. And so the question is why? Wow. And so I'm like this anomaly that we're both fascinated about, and we're also curious, but it challenges all of the assumptions that we have. And when I first heard that I had a very severe type of dysautonomia, that actually is down the ALS, or in Australia, we call it the MND path. And that is very confronting.
Yes.
You know that, Michelle.
Yeah.
And so the synchronicity and the serendipity, or the coincidence that you and I are friends and have been for a very long time, is strange.
Yeah. The
But
amount of things that overlap of our experiences in life, which is crazy. I'm covered in goosebumps again because I forgot that you had messaged me in the middle of everything that was happening with my daughter, and she is an anomaly in the sense that I keep saying I'm in goosebumps. Is that all the tests that were done for her showed elite athlete heart, couldn't figure it out, and she is probably one of the most positive people that I know. She is the one when she was 10 years old and I was having a really rough day, said, Mom, remember I love you and remember the energy you put out, it's the environment you create. I'm like, she had this like incredible
how
and
wise.
right,
Wow.
like incredible and
Sacred little soul.
totally. And so I do know there's something so big about what you're saying here because even to understand they're still doing a lot of studies around what's happening with her right now and but just like you said serendipitous that we're connecting like this to have a conversation that's so much bigger than we can imagine in ourselves, like it's so much bigger than that. I and another thing I wanted to mention too is that I would love to connect you with Dr. Ellen Langer, who you're probably familiar with her as well, because she is the mother of mindfulness. She was the first tenured psychologist at Harvard, and I've been very fortunate to do some work with Dr. Ellen Langer, and
Oh, I
she's
would hyperventilate at that opportunity.
I think I would love to set up some sort of a panel or some sort of discussion with all of us together because she was just literally on Mel Robbins' podcast this last week and talking about mindfulness that we go through life like 97% of us 97% of the time like mindlessly. And
Yes,
you of
correct.
course yes, and you of course would know of like I think one of her most famous studies, which is the reverse clock study, where they took elderly gentlemen like in their 80s and put them into a retreat center that they turned back the clock like 20 years. So they were living as if they were 20 years younger.
It
Television,
changed
radio,
the
bio,
actual everything.
they changed the clocks, the magazines that were there. They took I
The
don't know how
furniture, I
furniture,
think.
everything, and talked about as if in that time. And the stunning thing about that study, I don't know how many biomarkers, but within a week, the biomarkers that shifted from improved eyesight, hearing, mobility, cognitivity, is that a word? Memory, like, so this
Ex-
is, yeah,
Cognitive performance is a thing. How fast you make a decision, how quickly you solve a puzzle. Absolutely.
exactly, exactly. So, to Alyssa's quote to me back then, the energy we put out is the environment we create, and the energy that we put into that environment. So, when you talked about being bathed in positivity, like how do you scientifically prove that? You look at some of the studies that Dr. Langer has done as well, that actually there are biomarkers that change. It would be so fascinating to look back 5 years ago when you first started going through this and you had been bathed in this work for so long. And I look at my daughter who, went on to play national team and pro and her mindset, like, so she has such an incredible resilient mindset and then their body's going, what is happening here? And to stay in
Yeah.
this place somehow of curiosity and gratefulness of like, we're lucky she's here and she is part of this trying to really understand what's happening. So, oh my God, this is beautiful and amazing to
Michelle. You
like,
you you're in I need to so there's a couple of things. You're in Vancouver, correct?
I'm in Calgary, Canada.
Right. We're going to dive into that at the end of this podcast. Sorry, everybody, but after we say goodbye, we're going to go into some logistics. So the Ellen Langer is actually also considered the mother of positive psychology.
100%.
I am in a very few days going to be visiting with the father of positive psychology, Martin Seligman, at his home in
Wow.
Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's a big wow. Facilitated by my friend, Dr. Stephen Post. Now, he's my mentor. He happens to still be teaching in the School of Medicine at Stony Brook on Long Island. An extremely long story, but here's where I'm at right now. The research findings indicated that we could probably create, I want you to imagine a sensor. It could be like something in an ear pod, or it could be something on the ends of some glasses. When I try to explain this, I say, you know this little bit on the end of your glasses and it touches your brain. I want you to imagine a sensor that can read your brain, but reliably, dependably, scientifically. At the moment, most of the devices in 2025, they're toys. It's all novelty. Nothing is without what we would call artifacts or noise that would actually damage the data. So it's not actually useful to you. People go, oh, I'm going to use one of these devices that tells me is my brain in, this, that, or the other. It's mostly BS. However, there are other things that are validated, like heart rate variability. And your Apple Watch, and in fact, the new sensors in the new Apple AirPods do HRV. Extremely advanced. And 5 years ago, we could never have imagined. So with Dr. Avinash Singh at UTS, we applied for a grant. It's a federal government grant here in Australia. It's the most prestigious. It's the most demanding of academic excellence. It's actually called the ARC, the Australian Research Council, and we were granted a very special prize last year. So we are intense, is a team. And within 3 years, we'll come up with a prototype that will be able to read what's happening inside your brain, particularly whilst you're viewing a positive prime session. And then it will actually inform right to positive prime in such a way that positive prime will then hyper-personalize the experience. So we know what we're helping you to do and feel. And it's all human controlled, right? So it's absolutely within your control, and it's all with your permission, and it's responsive. I don't know how else to try and help people understand this. And you know how there are headphones that they just cancel out the noise?
Yes.
We're working on something that can just cancel out anxiety.
Wow.
And we hope to be the world's first. That's the game we're playing. Now, to that end, positive prime sessions were informed, and I was inspired by people like Ellen Langer. I absolutely do know that study, and Martin Seligman. But let's go back upstream. Sir John Templeton created the Templeton Foundation, and there was a task that Dr. Stephen Post accepted to identify the most amazing scientist, such that something even bigger than an endowment was created. In other words, philanthropic support. And it went to Martin Seligman and the University of Pennsylvania to create the Center of Positive Psychology because of Stephen Post. Now let's fast forward to today and Kim Serafini. So Stephen spends an hour or two having a conversation with me every single week in a philosophical conversation. I'm just super blessed. He's about to come out with a book called Pure, Unlimited Love, Science, and the 7 Paths of Inner Peace. And I'm probably within the next couple of minutes going to tie these things together for you so you know what pure, unlimited love, connection with one mind, something bigger than you. Some people think it's divine and call it God. Some people don't. If you're Hindu, you might say gods and goddesses. How does that tie in with peak performance, flow state, scientific research, and decision-making and profitability in like workplace wellness? And what's that got to do with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and compassion? You ready? Okay, so I'm in conversation with Stephen. He's talking about the messages of his new book. I encourage everybody to go out there and buy the new book. Depending on when you're hearing this, it's probably already been released. The forward is by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He has endorsed. That is super rare for any human. But Stephen Post is most certainly worthy and deserving of that. And Stephen has been this man who, through Sir John Templeton's generosity, through the legacy that is his charitable philanthropic efforts, Stephen has identified other people in the world like Martin Seligman, including Robert Emmons. Now, Robert Emmons is one of the greatest researchers humanity's ever known on the science of gratitude. And he was at the University of California, Davis, and he actually had more than 20,000, students all the way through the levels. I could go on and on for another hour or two. But anyway, Stephen has invited them all to come and have a deep and meaningful conversation with me at a very special event in Boston. Depending upon whether you're listening to this, it's either happened or it's about to happen. Michelle, I think that you should get on a plane and come to Boston. I'll explain to you at the end why. So Stephen, one of his best mates for 40 years, I'm not talking for the last 5 seconds, Dr. Gregory Frachon, is the head of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School and also at Massachusetts General Hospital, the teaching hospital for Harvard Medical School. So in practice, and he is also the head of the Benson Henry Institute. They're his current roles. He's had numerous other accolades and awards, and he's a luminary. He has written some books on the brain. A psychiatrist is really a brain doctor. And I'd never really dived into psychiatry before because I thought it was essentially about schizophrenia. And I was so wrong, so naive, so ill-prepared, so conditioned, actually, so judgmental about what I thought were psychiatrists and prescriptions and drugs for bipolar. And I've got to tell you, everything that I assumed, I've actually had to address my own biases. It's unbelievable.
Wow. I love it.
So Stephen asked Dr. Gregory and also Dr. Robert and also some others like Dr. Esther and some others to come and have a conversation in the context that we're creating this documentary movie, which is essentially about Michelle, your daughter, and what's going on in her heart and mine.
Wow.
And nervous system regulation and stress and uncertainty and shocks and fear and loss, all of which is 2025, 2026 in the modern world, particularly if we start to get all, anxious about what AI is going to do to our livelihoods. I can go down that doomsday dystopian path very easily, but that's not going to help any of us. What is how do we become more decent humans, generous, honest, sincere, genuine, faithful, loyal? How do we spend time laughing together, hugging each other, smiling? And so the positive prime state, interestingly enough, being in the state of flow means you're available for being loving and being connected to one love or source energy, or right?
Oh, totally elevating our whole vibration, not is because we can get into that doom thing. I just want to say, because there's so much of that happening and inundation, how do you remove, because being in it isn't going to help it. So how do we get out to be in a place in order to actually make change? And you just nailed it so big. Like, it's like, if we can start making that shift in such a big way that it becomes the ripple, not the opposite. How do we can't, like you said earlier, have that clarity, creativity, connectiveness that everybody, I think the world is craving, that connectiveness that is, we've been polarized and separated even more now. And that is a foundation of, again, goosebumps, that love, like that vibration, if you will, of wanting to connect so badly. And how do we do that without it being this, it doesn't have to be complicated.
And Michelle, the reason why you've got to be part of this conversation is because I'm going to touch on something even deeper with you, as if I was interviewing you, right? You're an Olympian, which means your identity was wrapped around being an Olympian. And I would suspect that there was an annihilation that impacted your own nervous system when you were no longer an Olympian. Is that true?
Oh, 100%. You know what's crazy? I just got off a conference call with a handful of very high profiled athletes that have retired, and we're doing a whole panel on the transition phase. And 100% is true. Like, and that's an extreme, like going from that Olympic level. We all, in some way, shape, or form, go through that when we're changing chapters in lives. And how do we switch from I was this and now I'm that? But yeah, like it's to a visceral place of how do you take whatever was really good from that, let go of the stuff that, because there's a lot that wasn't good from it as well. But it's like, how do you take that and shift that your whole neuro system, like you're saying, into whatever the next chapters are in a healthy way, right? Yeah, huge.
So,
Yes, huge.
right, absolutely it is. And so, um, as we go through these confrontations or these challenges, as we go through the suffering, we can either choose to be the hurt who hurt or the healing who helped to heal. And that's actually where I'm at. And so I'll be honest with you, the field of psychology probably wants me to charge a fortune for one positive prime session, given what we know it biologically and physiologically does for people based upon just our research on what's happening inside the brain. So I'll give you one segue, one pop-up. When you see a photograph of a smile, your brain thinks you're smiling. You don't need to be smiling. Your brain thinks you're smiling because the retina in your eyes has processed the photo, the image of a smile, and the visual cortex thinks you are smiling. It sent messages to your endocrine system. So hormonally, you've now started to process in your body as if you are smiling. It's not just a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not just associative conditioning. It's so much more dynamic and complex. But anyway, your body now thinks you're smiling. So you're producing more oxytocin, which makes you more kind and more patient and more compassionate and more empathetic. And that is actually what the world does need. But it's also what you need to survive the day. Because
Totally.
coping is going to be really hard for the majority of humans over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I have had this reckoning, and I want Positive Prime to be available, but I'm not in the position to be the philanthropist. I can go and ask for philanthropic support so we can make it available to more people. But I just wanted it to be very affordable and very accessible. And I really want everybody to know what I now know from like the wisdom and the insights from Stephen Post. I call them Stephen and his friends, right? So it's from Dr. Gregory Frishone, from Dr. Esther Sternberg, from Dr. Robert Emmons. Anyway, in all of this, Stephen also introduced me to Mr. Victor Chan, who is the only person His Holiness the Dalai Lama has written books with on compassion and forgiveness. And he is an amazing Chinese man who grew up in Hong Kong, had this unbelievable spiritual awakening, but was actually a very deep scientist, researcher in his early career. He now lives in Canada, and Victor is actually coming to our event to have these conversations. And it's not that I'm a Buddhist. I just think there's something so valuable we can learn and integrate into what we're doing with Positive Prime and in helping all of us just to be more loving. Because, and I'll tell you the thing about Ellen Langer, and I'm sure she'll say this, or Martin Seligman, is all of the research has been around what makes us feel like life was worth living. Today is worth living. And positive psychology is really about what helps us to thrive or to flourish. And actually there's a lot of politics, because Dr. Matthew Lee, who's coming to speak with us, the Templeton Foundation through Stephen provided $40 million to Harvard to actually study flourishing, the new human flourishing program. It's like the biggest, it's the most expansive, it's the most extraordinary. And I'm telling you, like the organizations like Google and Gallup, they're paying millions of dollars to understand the findings out of, you know, the human flourishing program at Harvard. But Matthew Lee is on the board of Stevens Research Institute. And so he's coming. So anyway, we've been taught in corporate life that what we need to do is be better and be more. But that I actually now have an issue with, because what if we're perfect the way we are and we need nothing else? Just each other. Zero materialism, zero consumer. I don't like. Anyway, so I've gone down this rabbit hole, which is like, what does it actually, what, you know, the Blue Zones diet in longevity?
Yes. Yeah.
So the glass of wine at 5 p.m. is not about the alcohol. It's about the connection. It's about playfulness and lightheartedness and mirth and joy and gathering in the little village's square and playing patong or playing, you know, fools if you're French, or playing if you're Italian, you know, like it's about community. It's about a sense of belonging. It's about what makes us feel safe. And back to the nervous system, what I have learned is a voodoo death is this very interesting nervous system collapse where your heart literally stops because your fight or flight system has been overwhelmed because you think you're not safe. Now, it's not rational. It's not logical. Your body has done the ultimate feint. Instead of the freeze or instead of the fight or flight, you're beyond those options and you've fainted. But that's really lying down and pretending you're dead, playing dead. But your body's literally done it.
Wow. It's crazy.
And so when you ask me, you know, what am I really up to? I tell you what I'm really, really up to. I'm really up to helping millions of people understand that they can just use Positive Prime for 3 minutes a day because it will give their bodies the message that they are safe, psychologically safe, but beyond that, physiologically safe. There's nothing else I know of that can really do that. Community is so important. And now here's the kicker. We suspected as much, right? Because in our research, our eye tracking, we noticed that the participants, the stressed ones who we then showed Positive Prime, their eyes actually reacted and locked in on the smiling faces in the scenes of helpful pro-social behavior. We as humans, we're primed. Our survival instinct is about where are our friends who will support me. It's more important. It actually precedes fight or flight or freeze or faint. I know it's a massive wow.
No.
We wouldn't know it, Michelle, if we didn't have eye tracking whilst we had EEGs. We wouldn't know it. We do know it now. We published it.
It's crazy.
I suspected, but I'm just little me. And
little you with like, look at the backing, because we're seeing the results of using the Positive Prime. And I just want to say the crazy part about that in the 3 minutes, being able to track that with our eyes and being able to do it that way. You think about, oh my God, like the challenges of being on this and the amount of stuff that's going in here constantly, the dopamine hits that are trying to be somehow filling something that's missing in there. And it's actually shoving that down even further and deeper into a not healthy place. So how we start kind of going, pause for a minute, pause for 3 minutes and start
otherwise
to
your heart's going to pause for a long time, maybe break,
wow,
and you won't survive it. I know. Right. See how poignant it is?
Yeah, wow.
And you know what, Michelle, everybody who's listening, Michelle did not show up today for this conversation.
No, we just said,
not
let's
prepared
go.
this.
No.
Right?
Yes. And I'm grateful again and goosebumps because we had some pre-conversation of which I want to leave all of our conversation in here that we had. Like when we were prepping, I'm like, I just want to have a real conversation with you. And so even the pre-stuff, because there was some stuff we shared in there that then I had no idea we were going to dive here because it's been very difficult to talk about this.
Yes.
And then remembering because I was in this state of almost numbness when it was happening with my daughter and witnessing that. And I'm so grateful for the conversation that we're having here, not just, yes, about that and the broader impact of what we're talking about. It's like um, our heart is everything.
Yeah.
It's it. It's everything. For my daughter, hers, she was in the middle of a volleyball high, you know, big game that it's like one of the biggest tournaments in Vancouver and it just happened suddenly, but hers went like 260. So then actually her blood wasn't flowing to her limbs and then it happened again in the ambulance and they were still trying to figure it out. So she's in studies right now too. And when we talk about like this has been so reassuring having this conversation with you because as a mom, as anybody who loves somebody, you see them in a place where it's like, what can you do to help? Because there's no answers. Well, maybe there are, and who knows? And I'm going to go back to what you said earlier about being bathed in that positive. When people say, "Oh, you can't just positive," it's more than just positive thinking. It's going into your cells, into your being, and
Mm.
it's strengthening a muscle. It's more than a muscle, it's strengthening your whole neurosystem. It's not just like I use the analogy of strengthening that muscle because the other one of the doom and gloom and negative and all the other things, the stress, the cortisol, all those things have been pounding us down for so long. The separation, the lack of community, the trust, all the things that are like kind of piled on us. How do we start taking that off and being able to fill it up with everything we've been talking about today?
And Michelle, I'll tell you, the algorithms currently,
Mm,
they've literally been coded to cause divisiveness, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's not just what we think or we perceive or we assume or we have a conspiracy theory, but no, it's fact. The algorithms are actually
Yes.
they've been set up to divide us,
So we're
right?
on a mission to shift
We
the
are.
scales in a big way to huge
But we also
shift.
need a lot of us, right? So my
Yes. Yeah.
my my request would be that if you're listening, um, help us, support us. Even you becoming a paid customer helps us in everything that is we're doing. And it also means we don't have to sell our souls to say private equity or venture capital who may or may not want to do what's actually really good with this long term. Like there are commercial interests I actually don't really want to open any doors to.
Mm.
So um, we will give you a link. I am going to make this announcement. See, I was just double checking that I'm actually really doing this. I'm going to give you, because you're listening to Michelle, I can quickly show you what a positive prime session is so you know before you even, should we do that? Just
Yeah,
before you,
let's do it. Let's play. Okay, so the
okay.
people that are just listening to, we're starting to upload these onto YouTube too, so you can see. So yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right, so let me just quickly share. I'm essentially in our platform, right? So in Positive Prime, you'll see there are lots of really well-respected thought leaders. By the time you get here, there might even be one from Michelle. Her mindset, you'll feel like she's on your shoulder coaching you, but I'm going to press play on any one of these. There's lots of other little content as well. So this is a tiny little video, 30 seconds from Jane Goodall, like Gorillas in the Mist, I'm sure you all know.
Yeah.
Anyway, you scroll down and
And
there's all
she's
the,
left an indelible mark on the planet too, like,
hasn't she?
yes, just
So
acknowledge.
there are all sorts of different sessions, right? Because you were synchronized, I'm going to do this ballet one. Now, in the software, you just click on one, you upload these photographs, right? So this is actually me at sunrise. So I'm going to add this in. This is my CTO, Jack. He was speaking at an event with us. This is one of my colleagues, Donna. This is actually our film crew. This is my home that I share with my husband. And this is one of my favorites, Magnolias. All right. So this is my mom. But you know what? I've actually got other photos that are all here in an actual folder. So I could just select them all. But see, they're going to go into here. Then they're going to appear in the content, automatically placed. And every single time you press play, it reshuffles. And they play in a completely different order, which is necessary for neuroplasticity, for new neural connections to be created. So there's an intro, but we're going to skip it. There's music that you can play. And see how it says 3 minutes? I'll tell you, you can actually control. You can control it and you can say, hey, you know what? I really wanted it speed 2 today. And actually, I've got 5 minutes, and it changes dynamically. It goes to full screen, but this is literally changing your brain right now. Okay, so ready?
Yeah.
You don't need to be able to read all the words. Your brain does take in 40 to 60,000 bits of information per second from all your senses, as Michelle said earlier. You do attenuate to the 40 bits of information that are important to you, that are a part of your reticular activating system, as they call it. But what this is essentially doing is making sure that you notice the beauty that will unfold for you today. And it puts you in a state where you are going to make better quality decisions. You will be more creative. You will be more generous. You will be more kind. And the images are very precise for what they physically do for you and to you. And so if you don't like one, you can literally just X out of it, right? And I'm going to go and essentially show you another one. Let's go down here.
I love it that you can curate it. So there's some that are curated in here already for specific things that you know after they've been used for so long that they do it. You can personalize your own one. And I love too that if you got up first thing in the morning and you decide, like I joke around saying, like, is there a right and wrong side of the bed? Well, if you think there is and you get off the wrong side, just get back in, get out on the other side, play this, like read, because we get to choose. We do. We have the power of choice every morning.
We
And
do.
I'm being honest, there's a lot of mornings that I forgot and I didn't choose. Like, so it's like that repetition is the more than mother of skill, it's the mother of the new patterns. It's the mother of like repeating, doing these things. And because you're sharing the science, you've seen the science at the highest level, how it actually is physically, emotionally, everything changing our autonomic. It's changing our systems. It's
Totally.
changing our outlook. It's changing our mindfulness.
It is. It
Right.
truly is. And when you see photographs of yourself, what's really important, so you'll see there's photographs of me. Well, maybe you've gotten to know my soul and my spirit in what you've been able to watch in this video. But when I see photographs of me, what actually happens is my identity wraps around the content and I absorb it, I appreciate it, I integrate it, it becomes a part of who I'm being. And so we've got amazing stories, like people who find out that they're diabetic and then they change their identities from being somebody who loves soda or sugar or high glycemic index food options, and there's lots of different nutrition sessions here. And we literally have one success story. Somebody has lost 50 kilos. That's more than 120 pounds, or whatever it is.
That's a whole person.
Yes, correct. So we've had people, in fact, that particular member reversed their diabetes diagnosis completely, which was pretty new and different. And he was very worried about the impact it would have on his kidneys. And so he was very dedicated, but he really needed help. He needed help. He needed to learn something new. But learning something new, the knowledge won't actually play out in your life. You won't apply it unless it's a part of your identity. And so you have to have photographs of yourself in content that challenges your biases, that gets you to just ponder a little more deeply. And so there's all sorts of different sessions on goals, on sales, being an entrepreneur. I watched this one yesterday. I was really needing to calm down. And so away we go. So you'll see that I changed it to speed 1. I skipped the intro, and all I need to do is 3 minutes. And then as soon as I've got my own account, I've uploaded my own photographs, use your app and do it wherever you are, whenever you want to. And for $199, you can do 3 a day, every day for, every year. So I actually think it's super affordable. I
It's
think it's
amazing.
really good a value, but I do want you to take us up on the opportunity.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Kim. I love that. And I'll make sure that we'll figure out the timing of everything so that that link is there, or they can reach back and we'll figure out something else if it's past and someone's listening to this at a later date. I love that you said about changing identity because that is huge. That's the shift that happens. And again, I'm going to, what we think and what we can do and changing that shift. Um, I was thinking about my conversation with Dr. Langer when she was talking about the placebo effect and how the placebo effect could be the most powerful drug on the market because
Correct.
when somebody thinks that they are, it's like that shift in identity without the side effects, right? And so positive prime is like not only the shift of identity, but it's like neurologically too. It is actually physiologically, psychologically, in every way into our systems and starting to shift that. And so you've been doing this for years. You've seen you shared a couple of them, but I just love hearing the stories of seeing the shifts that happen in people.
Oh,
Uh, you
look,
know,
I mean, seriously, I've seen because people write to us and they say, look, I introduced my mum to Positive Prime, and she was a survivor of, um, Germany in 1945, and she hadn't had a sleep in decades, and then all of a sudden she sleeps like a baby.
yeah,
Um, I have had people who write to me saying, I absolutely had this conviction that I was going to go bankrupt and that I was a failure as a business person. And all I needed to do was watch lots and lots of Positive Prime. And then slowly I started to shift. And then I started to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then I started to change my behavior. And then guess what? I haven't been down that path. And I think I prevented going bankrupt. I mean, I could literally tell you 100 stories.
and I want to be clear on this because people say, "Oh, positive thinking, positive." It's not that. It's like way deeper. It's like you can't. It's changing the identity. It's changing like right to a cellular level of
Yeah,
what our
we
perception.
actually
Yes,
know. We
yes,
change your brainwaves. It's
yes. It's
extraordinary.
phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Who
And
are
all you
some
have to do is press play. And
yes,
then that's all you have to do. Press play. It does it to you. Hey, I
yeah,
will tell you, Michelle, we actually had some research participants who they were a little bit arrogant, a little in their ego, and they're like, oh, I didn't feel anything. And then, the researchers showed them the EEGs and they were like, you want to make a bet? Right? Look at what actually happened to your brain. They're like, oh, I didn't feel it. See, we can feel heart palpitations.
yes.
The problem is we can't feel a dysregulated brain,
Hmm.
a distressed brain, a brain in distraught. We can feel the downstream effects of that, but it's surprising how alert we become when we know the damage we're actually doing to our brain based upon really high beta levels. It's like being in total constant cortisol
Yeah,
secretion. Not good for you.
yeah. So good. I mean, that's not good. This is so good. And that's why I was like so excited. Like I was saying, Kim, I'm hopping back in because inspiring possibilities, the courage to jump in is what this is all about. The courage to jump in and we get to be healthy first. That's what I talked about on my TEDx, like this letting go of perfection, letting go of all those things that have held us back to let go. I love that you said it is about having fun and playing. And when we're lighter and watching these positive prime videos, bring that levity,
Yeah.
that
And they will.
possibility.
They
It
will.
yeah, it changes. So I know we could talk for 3 hours
I know. Thank
easily.
you. Thank you everyone for listening.
So
Reach
good.
out to us. Tell
Yes,
us.
yeah. I want them to, yeah, share your stories, share your biggest takeaways, what you're most excited about exploring here and go and play in there. There's everything you can imagine that you want to play in and one will trickle into the other because it really does stack, right? So if there's different areas of your life that you
We could go into habit stacking too. See, we need another half an hour.
A whole nother, and maybe we'll pick 3 topics that we'll talk about next time. But I wanted to really just dive into reconnecting with you, Kim, and I'm so excited to see the work that's happening in the world. And I know that there's going to be so many people impacted, and it's been fun to play with you and have some time. And we are going to do this again.
Yay! Thank you. I'd love it if you'll all have me back. Make sure you tell Michelle if you want me back.
Yes, 100%. Oh, you're going to be regular. We're going to do some cool panel stuff too. We have so much to talk about. I'm going to wrap up the podcast now. It's, jump in, be messy, have fun, come and play. There's so many incredible possibilities ahead when we have the courage to just do that. So thank you, Kim, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for this powerful conversation. If you felt something shift, or if you're curious about what 3 minutes a day could do for your brain and for your life, take a look at the link in the show notes and try Positive Prime. And something that's truly special, every time someone says yes to a Positive Prime subscription, 10 gifted memberships will be donated to first responders. Your transformation becomes a ripple that supports those who give so much of themselves to all of us. I'm grateful that you're part of this community. Until next time, keep breathing, keep noticing, and keep courageously jumping in.